We're here live at the Man Cave 2.0 with DJ Iron Balls. How you doing today, brother?
I'm okay.
That's good. That's good. I thank you and I appreciate you giving me this interview, brother.
Thank
and I also thank DJ Kareem and DJ Punch for theirs and DJ Punch for helping me get different DJs to interview. With that being said, my brother, give me a history about your career as a DJ.
Oh, wow. Let's start from the beginning. It was like I was in the house and my brother went away, and I decided that I would play his records. And what I did was I played it. He was gone. Played what I wanted to do, and put it back, wiped it clean and everything. And he came back. When he got home, he went to play it, and I left a smudge on the record, and he flipped the script on me. Wow, I was really sorry. He said, buy your own records. And from that point on, I bought my own records. But before that, there's one other thing I gotta tell you. When I was a kid and I didn't know no better, my mother told me, this is really interesting. We used to have little 45s. And I used to play them, and my mother used to say, don't play them records, don't play them records. George, leave them records alone. And you know how you had to, and I always played, she said, I always played the right record. I always played the right record. So if it was a good record, she'd take the record and stick it in between all them 45s. And I used to be able to go down to the record that I like, what I want, and still manage to play it. That showed, I told my mother, that should have showed you that I was going to be a DJ. But moving right along, after I put the fingerprint on my brother's record, I went down Newark and I bought 7 records. I came back. Mr. Hayes had this thing, socials on Saturdays. And Jeffrey Lattimore was a DJ. We was all friends. And he used to play. And one day, when I had my 7 records, I went up there, as any other person said, Jeff, you got Supernature? I remember that was one of the records. He was like, no. And I said, well, you got Got to Have Lovin'. He was like, no. I said, well, what kind of DJ are you? He was like, he got mad at me, and so I said, well, what kind of DJ are you? I went on out there and played. The very next week, I went and bought 7 more records. And I did the same thing. I asked him if he had this record, and he got that record, and he was getting mad as a DJ. So he said, you act like you got all them records. And I said, I do. Because if I didn't have them, I wouldn't be asking you. He said, so he really got mad. And he challenged me. He said, go get them. Due to the fact that I live 10 minutes away from the place, 5 minutes to get home, 5 minutes to get back. Be right back. Went home, got the 14 records, and said, here, and brought them back to him. I said, here they are in the flesh. I said, I tell you what, I'm going to be nice about it. I'll let you play my records, because those were the records that I like to hear. The very next week he came back, and he said, George, as soon as he saw me, George, go get your records. By that time, I had 21 records. I had records like this. So, and then the 4th week came, and he saw this girl. She was really nice looking, and he liked her. And he couldn't play and talk to her at the same time. So I was standing there, and he said, George, you know how to play? And I thought, I was just shocked that he asked me. I was like, yeah, yeah. Took the headphones, gave them to me, and he took off chasing that girl. I ain't see Jeff no more at the end of the night. And the first record that I played was Santa Esmeralda 1. That was the first mix I did. I went from there, and I started being a DJ from there. At that time, I wasn't old. We had an age bracket type of thing, and I was only a year older from a year younger from my brother. So I was on the bottom end of it, but due to the fact that I was a DJ, I was on it for all night. So I ended up playing. So eventually, making a long story short, when we get back home, now my brother wanted to ask me, George, let me use your records. So that's kind of like a funny thing too. But then as time moves along, I'm doing those for a while, and my mother used to say, George, why she didn't like music. So I started wanting what Jeff had. So she was like, no, I'm not buying you that because she really just didn't like it. So it was like a little bickering thing. So she said, when you turn 18, you can do what you want to do. So pushing right along, once I turned 18, I went to church, said my blessings, got up, and I said, I'm going down north just to see what north was happening down in north, because I really didn't know, because my mother really wouldn't let me go down north. But I was 18, I could do what I want to. So I got off at Bradford Place and walked down the street. Back then, they used to have this radio, and it had like a 12-inch woofer in it. And as I was going down the street, I heard some music playing. I really thought that that's what it was. I said, who got the radio? So as I crossed Washington Street, it just got louder and louder. And come to find out, it was a little place on the side called Disco 55. I was like, wow, oh man. I said, I'm by myself. I said, I want to go in here. So I walked in, the guy says, it costs something to get in. I said, listen, ain't nobody really in there, but I tell you what, I know a lot of women. Tell you what, let me come in here, see what the place look like. Guarantee you I'll bring it in. I'll bring somebody in there. He let me in there, and I saw what it looked like. My mouth was like that kind of thing. I was astonished. So he said, I got somebody I want you to meet. So then he introduced me to Charlie. I got to Charlie, and Charlie and I were talking, and then Charlie went to do a mix. That's another story, though. Charlie's another story. But anyway, he got to talking to somebody, and he went outside. And he got to talking, and it got down near the end of the record. I looked at the record. I looked at Charlie. It looked like he wasn't coming in to play the record no more. So I put the headphones on and mixed the record. By the time Charlie came back in, I was like 4 records down the line. I was good to go then. So then Charlie was like, wow. He said, can you come back? So I played a little while for that, and then as I played for that for a while, he said, "Could you come back on a Tuesday?" Came back in on a Tuesday, and that was when he didn't know. I didn't even know who Kelly was, but he wanted Kelly to hear me. Got in there. He said, "Well, go ahead and play." I guess I was, kind of like practice. I don't think nobody was having anything, and that's when he brought me out there and he introduced me to Kelly. Kelly, I guess, liked what I was playing, and he took me over to the next building, which was called Club New Experience. That was where the big time I assumed was going to start for me. I knew I wasn't going to play like right away, because you know how you got to feel your way in there. He took me downstairs and he showed me the bar. Then we got in the elevator and went upstairs and he showed me the sound system. And we talked and we chit chatted and everything. It went on for a little bit, and then I finally got my chance to play. And at that time, I was still by myself. I didn't have other DJs and friends like that. I was still by myself, and I just played. It was just simple, DJ George, So it was cool. And then one time, and then eventually, they had an anniversary kind of thing. And I think it was anniversary. But anyway, I didn't have a nickname, so he wanted to give me one. But I didn't know what he was doing. So I was supposed to play on this particular night, but I didn't. It was like the last 15 minutes of the night. So he said, I'm going to make sure that I get you in there just to say I was amongst all the DJs, and I'll let you play the next time. So he was introducing me as to the people, more to the ladies than anything else, and he came up with the name DJ Ironballs. All I had to do was smile. That name took off instantly because nobody really knew what my real name was, and I didn't tell them. So all the ladies called me Ironballs, and the name stuck. And that was one of the great parts of getting my name. I really enjoyed. So after that, I started playing down the Sensations and playing the music, and they were dancing, and I just met a lot of great people. And I learned a lot from Kelly. For an example, I used to just mix. I'll give you a back example. When we used to play and all other DJs used to be around, it used to be like everybody wanted to know what the name of the record was, and people used to cross out whoever the author was made, but you still was gonna buy the record anyway. Well, with Kelly, when I got to him, he was like, when he made me a better DJ because he taught me beats per minute. Anybody that, and I'm telling you, I was up in age then, but once I learned beats per minute, it really became easier as being a DJ. And then he taught me about sound and what to listen to. I used to just hook the stuff up, walk around, yeah, it sound okay, and it was cool. But that's being young, and as you mature, he was showing me how to listen for this and listen for that, and it was real. I really learned a lot from him. But Sensations was a really great thing, and then Zanzibar had came along, and it was like, George, you need to go down Zanzibar, but that's another story in this case. But Sensations was really, really, really good to me. It took me from there. It took me even better because I started doing a lot of outside parties, like a lot like family reunions and weddings and things like that. And it just turned out to be great. My most important thing was as I went on, I moved, after I left Sensation, I wanted to try to do something better. I went over to New York and I tried to play over there, and it didn't work. I didn't play. You got to be ready for the people in New York, okay? And I just wasn't. It didn't work for me. So when I came back this way, I walked into a bar, not really expecting to play because I was still making CDs from my house, and I bought records every single week, so it was like I wasn't really caught up in anything. How can I say this? I went to the Fox Trap, and eventually I got up in there. I started playing, and I played in there for about 10 years, But it's been a very pleasant history. I met great people along the way, like DJ Punch. He was, and Kareem, and I'm gonna, a lot of great DJs. Punch was the main one that I really admired out of all my DJs, and I had a lot, and there was a lot of them. But Punch, me meeting up with him, I met him through a sister, and it was like weeks before I really knew who he was. I used to call him a fictional character. Yeah, because they used to always mention him to me because I was from Union, Vauxhall area, and Newark. He was a legend, so I wanted to meet him, and they never let me get a chance to meet him until I called him a fictional character. And then they took me down to see him, and once I met him, we got to talking about each other, and we was kind of on the same page. We became instant friends and been friends forever. And then what he did for me, I think, in my history, I think he expanded me better because he knew twice the people I did. So that made it even better. Like when I was making tapes and all that. I made twice the number of tapes. I learned more about music from him because he has the thing for it. I wanted to really move right along and say I never made it really, really big. I did the family reunions, but I really wanted to go overseas. But it's not how well you play, it's who you know. And I really didn't want to know anybody like that because I always kept to myself. I think that was my biggest downfall. And now that as I learned, in order to get ahead, you got to share and expand yourself in order to make yourself bigger and just be a part of it.
Let me ask you this question, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the technology today?
it's too different. It really is, because I was the last one to even come up on CDs. It's funny. It really is, and it's like playing on CDs. It's just totally. Everybody says it's the same. I won't really know until I get the feel of it.
Oh, so are you telling me that you haven't touched a pair of CDJs yet?
What's that you have?
Techniques.
Those are the ones I touched, but only once.
Only once?
Yeah, but I'm strictly. I was always.
So you're a vinyl man. You're a turntable man.
Strictly vinyl.
Oh, so we about to break you into that.
Oh God! I ain't gonna try to put me on the spot. It's good. I haven't played in a while, but as long as I ain't lose my rhythm and my beats and all that, you know, I like to play every day, but I don't because of the situations that I'm in. But I'm bouncing back, and I'm gonna just get stronger from here on. You know, I learned a lot. I really have. Just don't let nothing get in my way, and just focus and keep going. Do the Lord and everything else. That's how I look at it.
You have given me the most easiest interview I have had yet. All I had to do was ask the question, and you gave me the interview. You are the man. With that being said, brother, is there anything you want to say, anything you want to get off your chest? Because we're gonna do a 10-minute shot of you doing the CDJs, and then we're gonna do a half an hour shot of you doing it. So that one's gonna go to Facebook and one's gonna go to YouTube.
All my true friends, and I'm gonna say true friends and DJs, and thank all the fans and the support for them buying the tapes and CDs that they have purchased for me. Especially the DJs when I can get honest feedback from them. I mean, some people you ask, what you think about this? Oh, it's okay. But you know, every ear is different. Every ear is different. And for an example, I just want to use this as one example. It was a record, Punch Light, and he said, "You want this?" Man, I don't want that. It was like three months later. Why you ain't give me that? I tried to give it to you, but you ain't want it. But that's how it works. Every ear is different, but I like what I like, you know. And I feel I play like this. If I like it, and I dance to it, and Kareem will dance to it, and Punch will dance to it, everybody else will. And that's how I am. Thank you. Oh, one last thing. We'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out to do your thing right here at the cave. And we hope that you have a safe trip and journey to home or wherever you may be going. And we want you to do 3 things, and those 3 things are to always be cool, together, and for real, because there's something positive to be gained in seeing the world as it is. Thank you and good night. It's on you.
I appreciate the interview, brother, and I appreciate the love.